everybody, it is the Last Raider, and we are back with another video. And today we are in comic books looking at desperation of the comic book industry and their fear of boobs. Yes, the comic book industry, the American Western comic book industry, DC and Marvel, most of their creators, if not all of them, are afraid of the tatas. Okay, they fear the breast. It gives them fear. It gives them terror. Have you ever seen the meme where the woman is screaming out of her mind in total fear, and this chick with giant tits is pressed up her giant milk sacks up against the window? That is Gary Connway right here. Okay. Right, reading out of here of Bounding into Comics. Power Girl co-creator Gary Connway wants to see manga creators taken to task for their rampant sexism and misogyny. We apparently forgot something about ourselves here, but let's continue. The Western comic book industry has officially begun to turn its sights on the Japanese entertainment industry as Power Girl co-creator Gary Connway declared that he wants to see the manga industry taken to task for their rampant sexism and misogyny. Let me put this out right now. The reason they are going after these people, the reason that Gary Connway and they're all screaming about racism and sexism, is because Japan is making bank right now in manga. They are killing the Western comic book industry right and left. The current top 10 comic books right now, as of the creation of this video, none of them are Western titles. Batman doesn't even make it to the top 10 anymore because people have given up on Western comics. They're done with the propaganda, with the preaching, with the outright, if you are straight white male, you are evil. And so now, in the true spirit of a group of closet racists, they've decided to attack the Japanese culture itself in general. But continuing on here. On May 11th, presumably prompted by the recent situation surrounding J. Scott Campbell's response to a Tumblr artist's fixing of his work, Conway took to his Twitter to bafflingly assert that while American comic book artists are taken deservedly to task regularly for their outrageous sexist treatment of women, he rarely saw any commentary on the rampant sexism and misogyny of manga. And I'm going to quote Perry White here for a minute. Only three things sell: sex, scandal, and Superman. Okay? No one recognizes you black Superman anymore. You don't have any scandals within the comic book industry. If there are, it's because y'all are out there blatantly pushing propaganda and not doing a good job of it. And you've completely given up on sex. You're in the trifecta of getting nothing. The trifecta of getting limp dicked and zero cash. Okay? That's where you're at right now. Continuing on. And manga is incredibly popular with young readers, Conway added, attempting to support his disingenuous argument with a tired think of the children moral backing. Really? Let me throw something out here for a minute. You want to think of the children. Why is it we teach sex ed to kids now in the 5th grade? We teach it in the 4th grade. Hell, they're talking about teaching sex ed in the 3rd grade now. And you're going to say, think of the children? Have you seen YA novels recently, dude? Gary Conway should be losing his shit over YA novels with the crap that's in them. But as usual, he will conveniently forget those people because they are his political leaning. He wants to go after manga for all this nonsense. Manga understands what's selling. If Japan could buy DC, and I wish to God they would. I wish Japan would buy DC right fucking now. Because then we would get some good stories. You would see someone take DC right now as they're to be sold, take DC as a property, and then go ham fist, make shit tons of money with it, because they would actually know how to make the characters popular. Manga should be... Honestly, there should be manga companies out there right now salivating over getting DC properties. Just sucking the DC properties up, bringing all of it over to Japan, and writing it in its purest form, how it used to be, and making big bank off of and embarrassing many of these posers that are sitting inside of our comic industry right now. But continuing on. As proof of his claim that manga is filled with rampant sexism and misogyny, the veteran comic book writer pointed to the cover image of Dungeon Builder, The Demon King's Labyrinth is a Modern Cities, 4th volume, which depicts the series' busty ancient elf monster Aura in her standard scantily clad outfit. In a follow... It's an... Ooh. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Anyway, back to what we're dealing with. In a follow-up tweet, Conway continued, not to mention manga's rampant sexualization of teen and preteen young women in media that in America is mostly popular among young readers. Yes, this is the appeal to think of the children argument. Again, my argument is, look at YA. You're sitting here talking about sexualization of things. Look at freaking YA, which is full of sex. I mean, you're borderlining just reading. It's borderline literotica at this point. I'm serious about it. It is just about every single book has some sort of sex scene in it. Why? My wife has reached the point where she said, you know what, I'm not buying my kid any YA for a long time. She's just going to read classic stuff. She's going to get Lord of the Rings and several other classic books that we know doesn't have this crap in it. Because, yeah, you know what, if you're going to gripe at your kid about worrying about rampant sexism in books, well, yeah, you know what? You don't need to be giving your kids anything with sexuality in it. Period. But, like I said, Gary Conway is not calling out the YA industry for their bullshit. Because if he calls them out, he's going to be attacking his allies. Remember that word. Do we ignore this because we're afraid to criticize non-Western cultural tropes? Well, let me tell you something. Your attack on Asian culture and Asian media sounds like Asian hate, Gary Conway. Okay? You hate Asians and you're afraid of boobs. And there's the title of the video, folks, right there. Gary Conway is afraid of boobs and hates Asians. There we go. God, that's awesome. Conway then presented another manga cover in support of his argument, this time drawing attention to the cover of the 7th volume of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Please don't bully me, Nagatoro-san. Oh my. Honestly, no, this is just a regular pose. This is an average pose in anime. It's just a tease. That's all it is. There's no way around it. Arguments made in Conway's tweet are disingenuous at best, outright lies at worst. First off, his claim that sexualized depictions of female characters are inherently sexist and misogynist is an outright lie, and ironically, a misogynistic one. Given the mere existence of a large number of female artists who enjoy drawing sexy characters, such as digital artists, I'm going to attempt to do this correctly as I can out of respect for this artist, Sakami-chan, or Bayonetta designer Marie Shimazaki. I hope I did that correctly. If not, kill me in the comments, please. But, yeah. And this is another argument that I would throw at Conway, also. On top of this one. You know, yes, there are female artists out there that draw sexy women, but here's another thought. What about all the gay women out there? Suddenly, you don't think lesbians like hot, sexy women? You're telling me some lesbian does not have the, the fantasy of having Scarlett Johansson go down on her in a 60... I'm getting too descriptive. YouTube's going to shut me down for that one. let's just say that do you really think that a lesbian doesn't have, raunchy fantasies about Scarlett Johansson or something like that? That they don't, masturbate to Scarlett Johansson's underwear pictures that are on the internet? Seriously? You completely forget about it's amazing how the gay community is necessary only when these people, these SJWs, are making a point. Only when they're trying to win points with a group of people. Once they reach a point where they want to make something misogynist, they completely forget about the gay community entirely. It's amazing to me. Continuing on. Yet more egregious is his claim that he has only rarely seen criticism of manga being sexist, as the only way this can be true is if he is either only getting his anime and manga news from straightforward news-only trade outlets, or he was outright blind. Yeah, this is true. Even in college, when I'd be reading manga, I would get harassed by some busybody Karen, either a professor, an administrator, usually some dumb student with purple hair, walking up and saying, "What is that? Cartoon porn?" And that is the excuse by a lot of them. A lot of times when you have I've actually heard the argument made to a woman to not buy manga for her son, to not buy the Pokemon manga, mind you, which Pokemon's about as low key as it's going to get, because Pokemon manga is from Japan, and Japan just makes cartoon porn, which is really a racist thought, which is really a racist argument, because they don't make just porn. Japan has, you have to remember, manga is not just for kids. Over here in the United States, there is now becoming a growing trend where cartoons are not just for kids anymore. There are now different levels of cartoons for different age groups and now different genres. Japan's been doing this for years. And if you want to talk about sexual manga or sexual anime, there is an entire genre of that in Japan called hentai, and it has to be registered as hentai. So, blow that out of the water real good. As anyone who has engaged with any one of the number of communities surrounding the medium for more than 15 minutes on social media knows, both anime and manga depictions of women are a favorite target of commentary from social justice and race theorists to spiteful busybodies and offensive, desperate attention seekers. Yes, this is true. You will end up, God, my looking good as ever. If you've run into, like I said, I have run into plenty of blue hair weirdos who will just dismiss manga as cartoon porn. That was back in the 90s before it became popular. Now normies are looking at it and they're bitching about what is culture different. I remember back in the day when anime magazines would sit there and would actually have large articles dictating why there was nudity in a lot of in anime, because in Japan there was not a stigma on a lot of things. In fact, right now in Japan they're trying to do transparent bathrooms to take away the stigma of using the toilet, of a bodily function. That's what Japan is doing right now. It's highly, I don't agree with it, but it is far more progressive than any of these woke liberals we have over in this country. Just saying. In fact, anyway, hold up. For example, in 2019, self-righteous fans of My Hero Academia took issue with how the anime adaptation's depiction of Nejiri Hado featured a more defined bust than her manga counterpart, criticizing this change on grounds ranging from misogyny to pedophilia. Boy, I have not seen My Hero Academia. I need to watch it, but I would love to know just how old is this character. Because if she is past 18, there is no argument to be had here on pedophilia. In fact, one fan felt so self-righteous in their anger towards Studio Bones' apparent misogynistic crimes against the fictional character that they called upon their Twitter followers to hunt Studio Bones down, and even highlighted the location of their headquarters as featured in their Wikipedia entry. Wow, there's some fucked up people. Let me explain something right now. Any blue-haired weirdos that watch this channel, let me explain something. If you morons get the stupid idea of coming to my house over what you perceive as misogyny, thinking you're going to intimidate me, one, I would not recommend it, and two, you have made your choice if you continue on it. The consequences are I am not responsible for what happens afterward. This is my property. I am staying here. This is my little piece of swamp ground that I live on. Y'all should leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, continuing on. Just 15 days later, the Shonen Jump series Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs was vocally chastised on social media by Western critics for a risque pinup of the series. eponymous character featured in the manga magazine's 48th issue of that year. I would love to have that pinup. According to the mob, the inclusion of the pinup in the magazine was not only absolutely disgusting and tantamount to child abuse, yet I'm willing to bet many of these people support chemically castrating children. But let's not forget, let's ignore that for a moment. But in the words of one particular critic, the reason to celebrate the fact that Japan's population is declining. No, the Japanese need to be saved. They are the world's national treasure, and we must help them. They are the endangered human species. Filipinos are the master race, by the way. Continuing on. In mid-2020, the premiere of the anime adaptation of Uzaki-chan, I actually mentioned this once. Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out saw a worrying number of social media users accuse the highly stylized depiction of the series' titular main character to accuse everyone from the series, creator to fans of the series, of pedophilia. Now, this one I did a video about. Uzaki-chan is a college student who's 18. Or in her mid-20s, I think. Or in her early 20s. She's not a child. By legal standards, she's not a child. If 18-year-olds are children because they look differently, then y'all need to go after Pornhub for their doe-eyed 18-year-old porn. I'm not joking here. This is what these idiots think. If you look childlike, and this is not honestly a trope or a stereotype. It is just a thing with Asian women. I live with a woman who's Asian, and she's Filipino, and even today, she's 30. She still goes to like a bar and grill, and they will pull out special machines. No lie, I have sat back and watched this. They've pulled special machines out that will hit her driver's license with about 4 different spectrums of light to confirm that license is a state-issued license and not a counterfeit. Because they start the scan with, it's the best-looking counterfeit I've ever seen. And she just looks way too damn young to be coming in this bar. She's 30 years old. They think she is 16. Okay? I know, I am a blessed man, but that aside, we're talking about rampant racism with Gary Connway here. So let's continue on. Later that year, CBR published an editorial asserting that the way One Piece mangaka Ichiro Oda drew female characters served only to reinforce harmful stereotypes, claiming, contrary to what anyone who has read the popular shonen series knows, that Oda's female character designs often perpetuate the idea that beauty equates to goodness or lack of agency. No, not true. One of the first pirate captains that Luffy gets into a fight with starts off as an ugly woman. She figures out that devil fruit really exists, goes out and eats a devil's fruit, which makes her stunningly beautiful, and she's still a bitch, okay? She's still going out there beating the crap and being an asshole, alright? It's not true at all. You can read the first 2 or 3 chapters of the manga, and you will find that out very quickly. He takes an ugly character, makes her beautiful, and she's still a disgusting person when it's over with. So no, not in the least. The fact that one of the most well-known corporate-endorsed and ideologically acceptable nerd culture websites in North America has chimed in to criticize one of the most popular manga series of all time, which, by the way, One Piece is still ongoing, I believe. I could be wrong. I mean, One Piece has a ridiculous fan base. Should stand as proof that this issue hasn't been ignored by Western commentators. These are only a handful of examples, but they conclusively prove that Conway's arguments are either completely detached or willfully ignorant of the reality of the popular attitudes towards Japanese art choices. Let me just end it with this right here, okay? You are either racist towards Japanese culture, or you're afraid of boobs. And Gary Conway is afraid of both of them. Which, might I also come down here and make a notion? let me just, zoom in on this boob window here of Power Girl. This is Gary Conway's creation right here. Drink this in, ladies and gentlemen. Look at your screen and drink all this goodness in. Gary Conway is hypocritically bitching about women looking sexy, and this is what he has created. It is one of his more popular characters. That's how dumb these SJWs are. Okay? This is basically the Western comic industry freaking out that they don't have the ability to create good stuff anymore. And so instead of becoming better than their competition, they're going back to what I like to call crackonomics, which is you're selling crack, you got someone else that's selling crack at a better price than you and probably a pure form of crack. You don't go make better crack, you just go shoot the other guy who's making crack, who's making the better crack than you. You destroy your competition by underhanded tactics and underhanded means. Gary Conway is the same way. He is going to destroy his competition by a drive-by, by character assassination, other than going back in, making good stories, good characters, and beating them honestly and fairly. It is un-American to destroy your competition's character, to destroy them through character assassinations and rumors and all sorts, and hitting them with political attacks. We as Americans like it fast, but we like it fair. Beat them on the battlefield by making better stuff. Make better characters. Emulate a bit of the Japanese culture. You can do this. They would probably appreciate it. However, this nonsense by Gary Conway to bitch about something that he is also guilty of should set a precedent of just how hypocritical these people are. Anyway, folks, I am the Last Raider. Be sure to tell me what you think in the comments. Also, hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and as always, stay safe, stay frosty. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.